Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
The Stock Movers Report, your roundup of companies making moves in the stock market, harnessing the power of Bloomberg data.
Let's take a look at some stocks on the move today in Europe. I'm Stephen Carroll and I'm joined by Bloomberg reporter Chloe Mellet for more. Chloe, good morning.
Good morning.
Let's start then with the basic resources sector. Copper's heading for its longest winning streak since 2017, and Glencore is among the companies benefiting from that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we were talking yesterday about how good it is to be a kind of a gold and silver miner because of those precious metals rallying. But it's also great to be a copper miner like Glencore because, as you said, copper is seeing that major rally and it is headed for its longest winning run since 2017. And that is because there are growing concerns around the supply chain for copper. There's been quite a lot of disruptions in some big copper mines this year, and this really tight supply comes at a time when copper is in really high demand because it's a crucial material for a bunch of different things. We're talking about smartphones, fridges, electric vehicles, power grids, etc. But it's also really essential for data centers, and of course that is going to be very important heading into next year as well. And then we also have traders shipping really big volumes into American ports to try and get ahead of any potential tariff. So we have this supply and demand dynamic that is fueling that rally, and Glencore is a big beneficiary of that, and we have seen shares rising this morning as that rally continues.
So one to watch throughout the trading session today as well. Turning then to home builders in the UK, you've been watching shares in Vistry Group. Why?
Yeah, so Vistry, a house builder that's seeing a bit of weakness, and usually that weakness in house builders happens when we get data about the troubled housing market in the UK. And today we got some data from Lloyds about the commuter towns around London seeing the biggest drop in house prices in 2025. So we're talking about £35,000 being wiped off the valuation of the average home in a commuter town like Crawley, for example. So this really exemplifies that big gap that we are seeing, that widening gap between the housing market in and around London, which is the most expensive in the country, of course, and the rest of the UK. So house prices and the growth in house prices is actually doing quite well in places like Scotland and Yorkshire and Plymouth. Plymouth was actually the one where the house price growth was the strongest, but not in London and not in the areas around London either, and that is a problem for house builders because it really shows kind of the magnitude of the challenges that they're facing despite all the planning reform and the efforts from the government to try and get that housing market back on track.
Quite like the idea of Plymouth being an answer to a quiz question at the end of the year as well. It's the place that the house prices grew the most this year. Let's turn then to the defence sector, of course, one we've been watching through the whole of the year as well. And Rheinmetall in focus again, powering gains for the DAX index in Germany. Yes,
despite kind of ups and downs in recent weeks for defence stocks, Rheinmetall remains the best performer on the DAX index this year, and it is a big part of the reason why that index is set for its biggest annual gain in 6 years. So there is continued enthusiasm for that company, which kind of regardless of what happens with the Ukraine peace process is set to continue to really benefit from Germany's plans to spend billions on defense and infrastructure. To kind of zone back in on today, we are seeing how those Ukraine peace talks are feeding into that stock performance for Rheinmetall. Yesterday we saw that stock down because Trump was saying that a lot of progress had been made on peace talks, but then today it's up because those talks are facing fresh challenges with Putin saying that Ukrainian drones had targeted his residence and saying that he would revise his negotiating position as a result. And so that is leading to some of those defense stocks being higher this morning, including Rheinmetall.
The Stock Movers Report from Bloomberg Radio. Check back with us throughout the day for the latest roundup of companies making news on Wall Street. And for the latest market-moving headlines, listen to Bloomberg Radio live. Catch us on YouTube, Bloomberg.com, and on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app.